Hi there, and welcome to Inside the Wooniverse, a podcast brought to you from the corner of Fringe and Maine. I'm your host, Colette Baron-Reid, and joining us today is animal communicator, behavior consultant, and intuitive life coach, the one and only Michael Burke. Now, I've known Michael for many, many years, and he is quite extraordinary. His mission is to help people better understand and communicate with their animals and to help them overcome behavioral challenges. With his unique background in both dog training and a variety of healing modalities like Qigong, meditation, Reiki, EFT, quantum success coaching, and many more, Michael connects intuitively and energetically to both people and their pets. By applying the universal laws and the law of attraction within his work, Michael's grounded, practical, and clear approach assists people with challenges related to life, purpose, career, wealth, relationships, and wellness. Welcome to the Wooniverse, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you.
I got to tell you, who would have guessed? But I remember meeting you. I think must have been, is it 8 years or 7 years now? Because you were in my first small group mastermind.
We
Is
could
it
be
eight?
going on 8 years
Yes, 8
around
years.
there. Yeah.
Yes, because it was around 8 years in the fall, because I remember it
Uh,
was autumn. Anyway, so Michael was a big shot in advertising sales in LA, and he didn't wanna do that anymore. When he came to the group, I remember his dream was to become an animal communicator, to see himself working side by side with Cesar Millan, and he had a list of things. And he has not only accomplished every single one of those things, but he is one of the few people that have been through my mastermind that I followed very, very closely for the number of years now. And as a result of our friendship, he is now a Hay House author too. So we are going to be celebrating that today. And when is your book coming out?
Slated for summer 2024.
I'm so excited. Do you have a title yet?
Working title, not official yet.
Okay, we won't say it then. We're not gonna
Yes.
say it yet. But anyway, I have used your services so already, and I'll never forget when you were telling me about our dog Beanie at the time, and describing her pink boa, which was actually her pink, lead. That was very interesting when my dog was telling you all about how she loves to put the pink thing on, and I'm like, "Oh my god, you're the real deal for sure." And you really did help me a lot with the dogs. Anyway, I would love to start off going all the way back to your wee early beginnings. What were you like as a child? And when did you become aware of your ability to communicate with animals?
I, as a child, I was very sensitive. As far as I would cry at everything, I was like a sponge, taking everything in. My mom shared that with me. She said, "God, you're so sensitive. You're always taking so much in. You're like a lightning rod that's trying to ground the energy." And she used to tell me, I'm the youngest of six
Oh,
kids, and the oldest is 20 years older than me, the same parents. And my mom was 46 when she had me. And so they were of a different generation, everybody. And my mom would tell me how we would sit around the dining room table and everybody would be talking and laughing. And I would just kind of look at everybody and look at my mom and kind of like what we now call the side eye. Like,
side-eye.
they're so immature. And she would laugh because she was like, you're really absorbing a lot, tuning into a lot, assessing and evaluating, and then like kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm like, that's too much for me. And in a she said it was kind of in this like mature sort of way, but I really felt like there was just a lot of activity around me and I was absorbing, learning. I had a lot of teachers and my brothers and sisters, and they were all into metaphysics and vibes and intuition and dreams and the ghosts in our attic. And they would talk about all this stuff. So even though we were very Irish Catholic, my parents
Right.
were very Catholic. I point that out because there was all of this belief in saints and angels, and I was named after Saint Michael, the archangel,
Sure.
and So there was a belief in a higher power and something beyond us. And my brothers and sisters were all really into it. And so I would just kind of take it all in. And there was definitely an environment of being open to that kind of stuff. And so then
Mhm.
with my animals and my experience with animals, I just thought it was, we had a dog, an Irish Terrier, of course, because we were Irish, and we had a cat. And later on, when I was in high school, I had a ferret. But I was taking a lot in with the animals and just thought it was normal to be communicating with them energetically. But
Yeah,
the big moment where I really realized it was there were a few, but a big pillar was I was having dreams about a cat when I was around, like, I don't know, 8 or 9, that this cat was trapped somewhere, and every night I was having this dream about this cat saying, like, "Help me, you need to help me," and
wow,
I went to my dad and I said, I'm having these dreams. It's very odd. And he was supportive, like, okay, well, what do we do with that? I don't
right,
know what to do. And long story short, we started to see postings in the neighborhood for a lost cat. And my dad and I would be walking our dog around the neighborhood, and we heard a cat that was crying down the street in what was a garage. And so we called the phone number and let the people know on the lost posting for the cat
right,
that we heard a cat. We heard this whining cat, crying cat in this garage. Well, turned out it was the cat, and
right.
the maid in for the housekeeper had locked the neighborhood cat in the garage because it was using the rose garden as a litter box.
Oh
And
my god.
so that housekeeper ended up getting fired. But I was like, okay, this was the cat, this was something, and I just felt everything light up in my mind's eye as a confirmation
Sure.
and a validation of it. So that was, there were all of these things happening at that time where I was like, okay, this is something, and I'm open to it. I feel it, I celebrate it. And that
Uh-huh.
sort of propelled me in strengthening my intuitive muscles as I grew up.
Well, after I had that session with you, I thought about it afterwards and I thought, you can't learn this. I mean, there's different types of intuitives. I definitely know you can teach people, and I know you do that, teach people to exercise this particular muscle. But, like everybody can run, not everybody can run in the Olympics. And you are an Olympic runner of animal communication naturally. And I know that to be 100% true.
Oh,
100%.
well, I appreciate that. I'm very humbled by it, and I all along I've just followed the guidance. I've really just surrendered myself to the universe, to God, to all that is, the collective saying, I'm here to serve. Just show me where to go. I'll show
Yeah.
up and do my best. And even in every session, I always just show up like, people ask me, do you get nervous or is there pressure? And I just show up like, oh, well,
Yeah.
I'll hope for the best and I'll do my best. And fortunately, it always works out well.
And the detachment is crucial, I think. Even, I obviously do similar things, but if you go in with nerves, if you go in worried about the outcome or that you are attached to a particular outcome, how you want this to be good. But the fact is like you have to be willing to be wrong. I don't know. Let's have to see, because it's really about curiosity and allowing yourself to access the information. Okay, so I've got some really interesting questions. You have a number of amazing trainings that if you put them all together, it's quite the hairball. Right? So you have Reiki, you've studied the Akashic Records, quantum coaching, meditation, EFT, and of course, I really want to talk about the dog training with none other than Cesar Millan. Uh, so, how do you integrate multiple techniques and traditions? And when do you know to do that, for example? How about maybe a story? What would be one of the most interesting stories that you have that where you had to pull from all these different techniques with an animal that you're working with?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of there was a pit bull that I was working with, a pit bull mix, who was very sensitive and reactive and frightened, misunderstood as being aggressive, but really
Right.
it was just a nervous, anxious dog that was reacting based on the environment around him, and the family was very. Um, imbalanced, chaotic. There was a lot of
Right.
emotion. It was either excitement. There were two kids, two boys that were like 6 and 8, and
Oh, okay.
they were rambunctious. And one minute they were up, next minute they were down. They were crying. Same with the parents. They were very excited, energetic, also argumentative with each other, and very passionate would be a
Yeah, I
diplomatic
get
way
it.
of
Passionate.
putting it.
Yes, okay.
and and the dog was just, there was no guidance and leadership from the dog's perspective. And this comes through a lot with the nervous anxious dogs that I connect with, or even cats, any animal. Question marks above their head, like his head, like questioning everything and not getting the answers and not getting leadership. And so I first of all stepped in, assessed and evaluated, felt into what was going on right away, and shared with them, okay, well, your dog needs some guidance and leadership and some calm confidence, and you need to turn those question marks into calm periods or statements, not
Mhm.
exclamation marks, just
Right.
peace, calm, and really connect in with that energy. So I was tuning in, reading the energy of everybody. Then the coaching side of it was sharing with the people, okay, this is what's going on with your energy, and this is
Right.
where you're sort of at one end of a spectrum or pole, and you're focused on that, the negative, what isn't working, the chaos. You're sort of
Mhm.
trapped in that story. We need to pivot to the opposite. So just catch yourself, recognize where you are in this moment. Every moment is a new moment for a dog, and an
Mhm.
opportunity to show them a different way and make a new imprint with them energetically. So let's, start practicing allowing yourself to feel your experience and then shifting to where you want to go. But then with the animal communication side of it, I felt that the animal just needed to be thrown a lifeline, that energetically. So I was intuitively, energetically, and telepathically sharing thoughts, feelings, messages, emotions with the dog. You're okay. We're getting through this. In a way, you could say almost like a therapist stepping in, kind of like,
Sure.
all right, we're working on it. You're okay. Feel my presence, feel some peace, like give you a little nugget or a large nugget of peace and calm. So the dog was sort of feeling a ray of light burning through the clouds in a way that
Mhm.
felt warming and grounding. And the dog was almost like opening up like a flower in a way, like, really? I'm being understood. And it was just like sort of the breakthrough moment. And I was feeling from the dog, like, I just want guidance. I want help. This is too much. I'm trying to create order, with the
Right.
dogs, like nipping, or with the kids nipping
Sure.
the boys, trying to put them in their place. But it's misunderstood as being aggressive when really the dog just wants things to be calm. So
Right.
so
Interesting.
I was getting the messages from the dog, relaying that to the people, also sharing with them, you can tune into your animals. Again, not teaching them to be animal communicators,
No, I get it.
but just to read the energy, and most importantly, recognize your thoughts, feelings, and emotions are affecting your dog. And so then I followed up, just to circle it all in, the actual leash work and handling, like relaxing your grip because they were really tense, and a tenseness on a leash could be a main
Mhm.
line of energy to the dog that's like, electricity. So giving them guidance on the hands-on work, how your body posture, relaxing, taking a deep breath, and then, simple exercises like waiting to be calm before going through a doorway, and always rewarding the
Mhm.
calm, because they were often rewarding the dog with affection and treats, or touch when the dog was nervous, anxious, like the dog was
Oh,
shivering and they're hugging the dog. So that was like reinforcing that, oh, well, I get affection and attention when I'm nervous, anxious, or reactive. So, there are a lot of different ways that I'm able to come in, but it's like all in the moment. I'm just like tuning right in, getting the messages, feeling the people, responding to them, connecting the dots, while also making sure I'm maintaining a grounded pillar of holding space for them, so they're feeling
right.
heard and understood. So that's kind of like a taste of how it all comes together.
From what I'm hearing you say, and from my own experience with you, is as important, if not more important, that the people understand their impact on the animal than it is to change an animal's behavior. Right? In other words, it is a holistic approach. It's that animal, like that companion animal is a member of the family and has very specific ways in which it expects to survive or thrive within a pack, right? Which we don't see. Like I am completely trained by my dog. Okay. Like I have to have you come in and fix this because now Tinkerbell knows she can bark at me and I will and to get her to stop, I give her a cookie. And it's like, because she will stop. That's the only thing that makes her stop. And I'm realizing, she got me. Right. So I'm completely doing it wrong. I know 100% I am. The other ones I'm good with, but this one here, the new one, oh my God, she's got me wrapped around her finger. And I know that's not good. I know it isn't because I'm not the leader here. Right. So,
Well, and, I always say to totally. Yeah, but, I always say to people, as far as like, right or wrong, there's no right or wrong. There are just different choices lead to different outcomes. And sometimes people are okay living with their dog getting attention, getting a cookie when they're barking. And I meet some people, some trainers that are like, no, it's got to be this way, it's got to be that way. And that's
yeah,
great. But I'm sort of like, okay, let's work with what where you're at, your energy, your relationship, what you're willing to accept, and maybe what is not working anymore for you. And then
yeah.
just understanding what'll result based on the cookies, the attention, or whatever. But, to each their own.
I'm always talking about my fur babies. I have 3 of them, and for any of our listeners with pets, what are some of the tips that you could share with us to better understand our pets when they're having an off day, for example? Right? Like, sometimes little Bizou looks at me like, "I don't feel like it," and nothing happened. Like, she's just off. So what's a way that we could understand our pets better when they're obviously having an off day?
Well, one approach is to just surrender to what is, and if they're just not feeling it, they're just in a mood or whatever, just allowing that, recognizing it. That's one. Just like humans, dogs, cats, horses, ferrets, they have their own moments, and sometimes they're not feeling it, and that's fine. But sometimes, for example, a dog might show up to the moment and will be like, I don't want to go for a walk. But
Mhm.
often the dog is picking up on something in the human's energy where the human, like, sort of back to like the question marks above the head, like the
Mm.
human is sort of like, sometimes the human's distracted or preoccupied or has their own energy going on. And the dog is looking for the guidance and leadership and is sort of like, all right, I'm not feeling you right now. And I
Mm.
don't want to. But they're feeling the questioning. And so if the human's like, oh, you don't want to, oh, you don't want to, okay, what it goes back to the leadership follower state, that
Right.
it's kind of blurring those lines. But if the human an approach with this is to try to like sort of turn up the dial, elevate into your intention, really kind of step it up. Like, no, you're good. We're good. I'm good. We're doing this. Just clear,
Right.
calm confidence, really just sending thoughts, feelings, and emotions of how you feel, how you'd like them to feel, and how you'll feel together if it's like going for a walk or whatever the challenge is. Because I do hear that a lot, like, oh, my dog won't get in the car. But then a trainer will show up and will just take the leash and the dog jumps right in the car because
Mhm.
that's
Different
the
energy.
yeah, energy, and the trainer is calm and confident. There's no emotional attachment. They're clear on what they expect and they just go, "Come on, let's do it." And the dog's like, "Oh, leadership. Okay."
Leadership.
So I
Ah,
just say, like, just being tuned into your energy and your intention, and then really, like, turning up the dial because as we know, having a visual
yeah.
can be an easy way of feeling it.
I watched a show called Yellowstone. It's a popular television series, and there was this one. I just started watching it, and there was this one scene where this girl gets on a horse, and she cannot manage the horse, and so this cowboy comes up to her and said, "You know, your horse can feel a fly on its back." And while you're holding on so tightly, and all that energy is going into the horse is afraid because you're afraid. So it's like you want the horse to go somewhere, you gotta look there, look to where you want to go and the horse is going to go, and let go the reins and the horse will feel confident. So it's, I've seen, and I've heard that also with horses, how it's such an important thing as to what energy you bring as a rider, to the situation as well too. Do you work much with horses or mostly dogs?
No, I work with horses, and as a
Tell
matter
me.
of fact, really quick story. There
Great.
was a woman that came to me who said that her horse was she didn't trust her horse. Her horse kept throwing her, and
Oh.
it well, threw her twice. And so she's like, "I'm not getting on my horse. I don't understand it. We've had such an amazing relationship. I'm afraid." And so I tuned into the horse, and the horse was saying, sacred closure, like there needs to be sacred closure. And I said to her, I'm feeling like there's something incomplete here, and you need to have some sort of formal ceremony of closure of some kind. So she shared with me that she was a single mom, two kids. There was a 18 or 19-year-old son that had suddenly passed away about
Oh.
6 months before. And she had a daughter that was like 12 or 13, and she told me that they never had a formal funeral or anything of any kind. And this was pre-pandemic. This was a while back. But she said we just hadn't gotten around to it, and I have felt bad about it. And there has been this incomplete
Mhm.
feeling. And the son, was very close with the horse. They spent a lot of time
Oh,
together. So
wow.
she ended up after the session, just she and her daughter had this little sacred ceremony with the horse where they
Mhm.
put some photos up in the barn and they played some music and they said some kind words of like in memoriam for the son, and did a little like procession and celebrated his life. And after that, a few days later, she got on the horse and she was able to ride the horse again. And she said it was just like
Night and
this.
day.
Yeah. And so, to your point though, like it also helped build her confidence because that resonated with her. She could feel it, but it was very um, beautiful how this horse was really bringing this to light. Like, no, there's something amiss here energetically, and horses are so tuned in to everything. But yeah, it was wild.
That's such an interesting story, um, because when you think of it, a mom not actually having a specific funeral or service for their son, I mean, that's a big deal to just kind of that's denial, like, "Walk away, I'm too busy." That's so I can imagine all of that confusion and denial was in her body at the same time, and if a horse feels it, that's very, very interesting. I find the whole thing really fascinating because we keep thinking that these animals are either they're the same as us, we anthropomorphize on how they are. We don't recognize just how extraordinarily intuitive they are and how we have an energetic relationship with them, right? It's energy and that we are responsible for that energy. And I
Yes.
think that a lot of people don't know that. So interesting. Oh, so you are now Cesar Millan's meditation director. What's that like? And do you teach meditation for people and their pets? Like, how do you do that? And I know you do, so I want to know more information about it because it's so interesting.
Yes, I'm the meditation director. I came to Caesar uh, around 7 or 8 years ago, and I just was guided. Like, okay, I just felt led to go to him. He's close by where I live,
Yep.
and first went as a student and quickly moved through the ranks. Yeah,
Yep.
and I at one point I was training on the weekends there. I was teaching agility, and there at his events he has these big workshops where people from all over the world come, two different levels: fundamentals of dog behavior 1 and 2. And
Mhm.
I moved into a role. Caesar's really big on people being calm and being aware of their
Yeah.
energy. So I get up on stage. So fun. The first level, I just teach basic meditation. So when the day begins, or sometimes midday, I'll get up on stage and lead people through a meditation for 20 to 30 minutes. There's a little bit of some teaching, but
Mhm.
very making it very approachable, because these people are not coming there expecting to be meditating. They're expecting to learn about behavior and training.
Right.
So making it very approachable and easy, and it's for the people, so there are no dogs in the tent, but the
Right.
idea is to calm them down, so then when they go out and work with the animals, their energy is in alignment. But then
Right.
the fundamentals too, I that's where I have a bigger role. Almost half of the day, each day of the 4-day event, is working. I'm leading the students through personal development exercises, deeper meditations, giving them journal prompts where we'll meditate. We meditate twice a day, and I'll give them some journal prompts, and they'll go off on the property at the ranch, and they'll write. There'll be a specific theme each day, and then come back and break out into groups and discuss what they learned or what they're exploring within themselves. But the idea is really to go in and recognize maybe where their shadows are within, what's blocking
Mhm.
them, what needs to be cleared out, and really shining the light on any incongruencies in their energy that may be affecting their relationship with the animals they live with or work with. And it's really powerful. It's life
Mhm.
changing. It is so I love it so much because, again, all of these people are coming not really expecting. They're like, oh, okay, we might be meditating, and we dive really deep, and there are major breakthroughs, lots of tears. The day one, people are like, oh my god, this is overwhelming. I want to get out of here. Like, some people are like wanting to run for the border, and then
Right.
by the last day they're like, oh my god, this is
Best
like,
thing I ever did.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really, and then we'll do walking meditations as well. As we once they learn how to meditate, then we'll
Mhm.
go out and they'll be walking with, sometimes with llamas and emus and with donkeys and dogs, like big pack walks, just silent pack walks on the property, as another way of exploring energy, really, and finding their calm.
Have you ever tried to communicate with an animal that didn't want to communicate back to you? Like, or has it been an automatic, like, pick up the phone and there it is?
For the most part, for me, it's pretty easy. Sometimes in
Mhm.
the beginning, there might be some caution or apprehension, or they might be a little. Uh, it's almost like a person crossing their arms,
Right. So you
like
kinda
that.
have to wait?
Yeah, and so I've learned, though, ways of just sort of, it's almost like vibrationally meeting where they are at, and
Mhm.
surrendering in a way, like coming
Mhm.
in a very approach. It's almost like how when you are actually meeting a dog and you might turn to the side so the dog can
Right.
sniff you from behind. I'll kind of energetically and vibrationally, uh, kind of slip in a way like I'm safe. And
Ah.
and I'm confident about that, and I think that that helps too. Going back to what I said before, I'm pretty confident. Like, this is my intention. I'm here to help, and
Calm, assertive.
yeah, calm, assertive, and often too, they understand that the person is needing, their owner, their human is needing help, and so they'll feel that I am some sort of energy coming in that is maybe going to fill the gap somehow. Um,
Oh, that's cool.
so yeah, I mean,
So it might just take a little longer.
it may take a little longer, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's really interesting. So, what about for listeners who have an older dog or a cat or a gecko? Is it ever too late to start working on healing challenging behaviors? You know how some people have an animal for the longest time that they've just accepted the fact that their dynamic is super dysfunctional, right? Even though it may not be good for the dog. So, but they always say what is it? You can't teach an old dog a new trick.
Mhm.
But I wonder if that's not true.
It depends on the animal, of course, but yeah, you can teach old dogs new tricks, and there is that energy in the collective. Oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I mean, that just comes to us like it rolls off
Right.
the tongue, and there is that dominating vibration that I have felt, and even in one-on-one working with people. But animals, dogs, geckos, live in the moment. They're
Right.
responding to the energy in the moment, and it's we humans, that are bringing the past, the story, the repetition, the assumptions to that moment that create kind of a momentum or a foundation
Mhm.
that can be a little harder to break through. And even though animals live in the moment, there can be imprints that they have within them where they have a knee jerk reaction or response when they're in similar situations that feel similar to when they've been reactive or nervous or whatever. But, just again, intention, surrendering, and showing up in the moment with a new option and opportunity to create a new imprint. And then committing to that, recognizing it's sort of
Mhm.
like training a new muscle, or I'll often use the analogy of turning a cruise ship around. It's a
Right.
process of turn, but you can turn it around, but often people aren't committed, or they get scattered, or they just jump to conclusions like, oh, it's same old story. We're never going to get over this. But also, there are some dogs too, or, I'm thinking of dogs because I'm looking at mine sleeping here, animals that sometimes we have this expectation of like, no, they need to get over it. We need to rehabilitate them from this and we're going to fix them. And sometimes there are those animals that we just have to accept how they are and maybe manage
Mhm.
it and stay ahead of it, and learn how to sort of just love them and trust them and be with them for who they are.
Mhm.
And sometimes when we just accept what is, that can soften the edges around whatever was causing the challenge. So, but it does sort of depend on the situation.
What really challenging case have you witnessed, that experienced a complete turnaround? You know how Cesar Millan's well, I mean, he's not on TV anymore, but I used to watch his show regularly when he would take a really crazy dog, who was vicious and biting and then the next thing you know, at the end, it's turned around. Do you have anything like that that you can share with us? Any of the kind of like hopeless case that turned into something amazing?
Yeah, well, and actually Caesar's back on television. He's
Oh, is he?
on Yes, he's on, Nat Geo, Wild, and Disney Plus, and it's called Better Human, Better Dog. And
Oh, I'll
there
be watching that.
Yeah, season 2 now, I think, actually
Oh, is it? Oh my gosh, I have
premiered
lots
last
to
year.
catch up on.
Yeah, well,
I
there's
used to
so
watch him
much.
religiously, religiously. I didn't miss a show. I
Yeah,
had no idea he was back on. Oh, that's so great.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so tell me, so give me one of your stories.
Yeah. So, God, there have been a ton. There was a German Shepherd that I worked with that was 9 years old, and it was rescued from a shelter, was on death row, and it had been in and out of the shelters like 3 or 4 times, and
Mm,
it was a lost cause. The dog was very defeated, and it had been in a foster situation where the fosters did not feel comfortable with the dog. They
mm,
would muzzle the dog a lot, and
jeez.
they were pushing food with a long stick or rod to get the food because
Oh.
the dog was very reactive. And my feeling with the dog was that there was this gem of a sweet, kind soul, really, like gem of a dog that was like square peg in a round hole. That's what I kept seeing, square peg in a round
Oh,
hole. Everybody was trying to fit this boy in a place that wasn't the right place for him, and he was very sensitive, and he needed a job. And he was, German shepherds, not to generalize, but they can be very sensitive. They're working
yep.
breeds, and he was always in these family situations. Wasn't the best environment for him because he was trying to herd the
Mm,
kids and he was
mm,
attacking the kids. So I introduced him to somebody I knew who had a ranch and had agility and scent work set up and tribal and all of these things for animals to give them a job and a purpose. And so but that, this guy was also a bit apprehensive about the dog. But the dog, I was like, no, this dog just needs direction and not a lot of love,
right,
but a job. And let's put a backpack on him because a backpack will often like shift their energy into working them.
right. Mhm.
And we started working with him at this friend of mine's property, and it took about 10 months and there was like nothing, like no glimmer of success. And I was feeling, and the guy was like, I don't know if we can do this. I don't know if we're going to get there. Old dog, new tricks.
Right, right, right.
And I was feeling this dog, like, again, almost like opening, or more like seeds under the ground that we have been planting. And
Right.
it's this dog was saying, believe in me, like I'm loving this, believe in me. And really, like, everybody has failed me, everybody
Yeah.
has given up, everybody. It's almost, using a budding flower. It's like a flower budding out of the ground and then a lawnmower coming, just mowing it down every
Oh,
time
yeah.
the buds were coming out. So it was about a little over 9 months. There was this huge breakthrough, like huge breakthrough. And all of a sudden the dog completely surrendered, like opened up, was doing all of the challenges, the agility, the herding with sheep, and was like getting it and responding. And it just goes to show, like, we may, just like watering a plant, you may be watering it for 9 months and you're not seeing the sprouts, but you just keep watering it and believing in it and holding space for it. And then suddenly there was this breakthrough. And it wasn't like a one-time shot. This dog was like transformed, and for the latter
Mhm.
part of its life, it was just um, in a way, yeah, I don't like throwing around the term healed, but in a lot of ways it was
Yeah.
understood, which
And
was
maybe liberated from,
liberated. Is Yeah,
maybe that would be a good word, 'cause they don't I think how long did he live after that? So because they don't live long.
they don't, but he lived to 13,
13,
actually,
right?
which was longer for a shepherd. I mean, he could have, a lot of them 8, 9 years old.
Yeah. Well, you said something really interesting that the dog didn't need more love. What he needed was understanding and something to do. So that was a very interesting thing. 'Cause I think, when you get a pet or you commit to a companion animal, I wonder if we may not understand what the dog or cat or whatever needs because we project what we need, or we think, oh, you're going to be the receptacle of my love and that's going to make it all better, as opposed to what does this dog actually need? Like a breed, like those are herding dogs, like you said, German shepherds, they need something to do.
Yep, yep.
They have to have a job, otherwise they're very neurotic and they're all over the place. So it's an interesting thing, and you love them, but is that the best thing for them? Like, what is love? Is it like goo goo gaga, come here, like I am with my little tiny dogs, which apparently they enjoy. Thank you. But yeah, respecting an animal before you gush all over them.
Yes, right,
Interesting.
because they're animals first, and they
Yeah.
have instinctual needs, and depending on the breed, they may, like working breeds, yes, they need a job, they need exercise, and
Mhm.
that's often a big thing, mental and physical exercise. And often people will say, "Oh, I just, but affection, 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 and I love my dog so much, and oh, and I let the dog out in the yard." And
Mhm.
or dogs, the dogs roughhouse in the backyard, and they get their attention. I don't understand, but that's great. But the mental and physical exercise, giving them, serving their instinctual needs as an animal, and understanding what they are, because everybody's different.
One of my Poms will not step outside. She is not interested. If I try to get her out the door, she'll, like, put her foot down. You cannot make her go on grass. She would like, there is no way she's gonna step on that or anything wet ever, thank you. Like, it's very interesting. She's perfectly happy to go on paper, and, like, outside is not an option unless she can sit somewhere, like, with it's very weird. Like, "Are you not a dog?" Right? Go on, right? Don't smell something, right? Nope, not interested. So they are characters. They really are characters. I'm wondering about little Pomeranians.
Well, there's often something very royal in Palms, like
Yeah,
very royal, bougie,
yeah, they're
like,
very goofy. They're goofy little bougie things. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, they have high expectations.
Yes, and they really like it their way, thank you. I've typically adopted dogs that have health issues or, I've adopted two-year-old pets that, that are or one at 6 that was incontinent, and she lived 4 more years in a diaper because 'cause I'm like, "I'm not gonna put this dog down." It's she just so it's like, you know, we have to work with what we have, right? With what when an animal comes, when they're rescued, they have behavioral issues or whatever, or they might have health issues. So, with regards to a rescue animal who may have had a negative experience, where do you start when approaching an animal that has experienced trauma?
When when an animal has experienced trauma, patience, consistency, and follow through. Really,
Mm,
being very patient, again, recognizing, feeling, and understanding where the animal is at, what
mm,
they've been through, while at the same time showing up with a clear intention. You can come into, if an animal's been through abuse, physical abuse, whatever the case may be,
mhm.
sometimes your energy can be really strong. You might be coming in like, "Oh, and I'll save you and I'll
Right.
show you." And that can, from my experience, the animal's perspective is like this wave. It's almost
Get
like a,
away from me.
yeah, like you're just coming in this like heat, like, whoa, it's a
Yeah.
lot. And so recognizing, tuning in through intention where that animal is at, and sort of adjusting yourself, almost being a shapeshifter energetically a little bit, like, okay, you're sensitive, so I'm going to just sort of dial it down a little bit,
Yeah.
and then have a really clear intention again of what the next step is and how you can help. And sometimes, people will come in like, we're going to rehabilitate this, we're going to save you, we're going to fix you.
Yeah.
And it's similar, like, again, rehabilitation, one
Mhm.
step at a time, recognizing what the problem is, what the challenge is. Okay, well, what's the next step? Baby steps. And so uh, being sensitive to that, and then having a plan, but being flexible, because you
Mhm.
might think, okay, well, this dog has been abused, so we're going to just avoid any situation where people are holding umbrellas or wearing hats and
Right.
sunglasses. Let's avoid that. But there might be a way of like desensitizing the dog. Often, when you're dealing with trauma, a good way of like rehabilitating it is creating a new imprint and showing them that there's a different choice to make when they're in that situation, that doesn't have to be like nervous, anxious, reactive. So, while at the same time not traumatizing them by putting them in another situation where they're going to be like, "Oh my
Right.
god, I'm being abused again. What's coming in at me?" But um, really surrendering, showing up, tuning in, and then taking that first step and guiding them through with the calm confidence. Being
Mhm.
calm, being clear, and giving them the direction. I'm holding my hands below the camera, like, a
Right.
gentle leader, like gently, and not forcing, you're just gently guiding. And I'm feeling, as I'm saying this to you, it's almost like imagining you have like a Wonder Woman magic lasso
Yeah.
around the animal. And it's like, let me gently guide you to a nicer space that's more calm and peaceful. And projecting that. And the animal communication side of it is just visualizing what you would like them to feel. As I mentioned before, like, what is that? What's the feeling? What's the energy? Maybe it's peace. Maybe you're seeing peace signs in your head or a
Right.
sunshine, and just sharing with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions the energy with that, like peace, radiating peace.
Yeah.
A dog, a cat, a horse, they can potentially feel that, and that can be just that extra little breakthrough as you're guiding them to the next step. And
Uh-huh.
but it's a process, it's, and every case is different.
Yeah, but I do think the one thing is the patience piece. So when I got my Yorkie, the 6-year-old Yorkie that was incontinent, the the woman didn't tell me she was incontinent. It was only that she'd been brought back by 2 families. When I got her home, and she was very it wasn't skittish, but I could tell she wasn't very trusting. So I just sort of thought, and again, I didn't at that point, it didn't feel like I was having a genuine communication, I just felt the energy, and I'm like, "I have to be really patient with this dog," and then I realized, "Oh, I know why." That they 'cause she literally, as soon as she relaxed, her bladder would go. So I took her to the vet, and he said, "This dog is completely incontinent." And I'm like, "Well," and but I remember the woman looking me in the eye, and I thought she realized she kinda clicked and was like, "I know you're not gonna put this dog down," 'cause the family before were gonna put her to sleep, and I was like, "Why?" So anyway, I found out why. So I just thought, "Well, let's get some leopard print diapers together and let's figure this out," a little maxi pad, she lived 4 more years, but the point was that I'm trying to make here is that I could not love her into being there. I could not, make her happy there. I had to She had to first trust me that I wasn't gonna give her away. I couldn't yell at her for peeing. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it was my job to make sure her diaper was on and then off or whatever, because I was not gonna put this there was nothing wrong with her otherwise, like, nothing at all.
Mhm.
So it was very, very interesting to watch her slowly become herself. Whereas my personality, because at first I could tell she was like, "Oh, you're way too much." Like, I'm like, "Oh, you're so cute. Oh, wow, wow." Like I was, and then I was like, "Oh, that's not a good way to start with this particular dog." Right, she taught me a lot. She taught me when I watched her cues, and then I'd see the little bit of a result, and then she became the cutest little, like, funky little thing. She always wanted affection and whatever, but she wasn't like that at all when I first got her, not at all, not at
Mm.
all. So I
Wow.
had to really respect it was not what I wanted, and again, I had to face like, "Oh, it's a rescue. Oh, I'm a rescuer. Oh, I love to rescue. That means I'm like, I had to really look at all my issues around needing to rescue and being the rescuer and stuff and realize how that had to take a big back burner. So she taught me so much about my intention and my motive for
Mm.
doing this. And she was one of my greatest canine teachers, I will say.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah.
she was amazing. What about animals choosing their, guardians? Do you have any stories about that?
Yeah,
Like, do you
I
feel like they choose us?
I do feel sometimes they choose us. Yeah, I do. And even sometimes often it's even before they come into this
Yeah.
incarnation. There it's meant to be. Um, I mean, I even felt like my soulmate dog Cooper when I was 23 or 4. I had no plans of adopting a dog at all at the
Mm.
time. And I was in my early 20s. I was starting out professionally. I had moved back from college not long, and I was walking along a Chicago city street, and there was literally a puppy in the window, and 7.5 week old Nugget, Collie Shepherd mix, and I just was taken by
Born
her. Yeah,
right.
and I went in and I just was like, and she came right up to me. She was avoiding everybody else actually. When they pulled her out, she was kind of cautious,
Right,
very sensitive. But she came right up to me, and in that moment, I was like, okay, this dog is choosing me. This is meant to be. This is the one.
right.
And I mean, in hindsight, like, that changed everything. I mean,
Right,
everything that I'm doing now is really inspired and instigated by Cooper, and it's like that
right.
just created the trajectory, and so I did feel like I mean, our whole relationship together, I felt, when we would look at each other in the eye, and it was like looking into each other's souls, and I was, reading her, and she was reading me, and there were setbacks and missteps and learning experiences. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, I definitely do. And in my work, I find that a lot. Like, and people will say,
mhm.
come to me in a session and they'll say, I'm really frustrated with this animal. Any animal, cats, dogs, any animal,
Sure.
why am I dealing with this? And it's like, well, this cat chose you because you are the one to not necessarily like to put the pressure on. You are the rescuer and you have to carry
No,
that
no, I
out.
get yeah.
but like because you're the one, just like you with your pup, to show the way, to help them, to give them the opportunity to feel seen and heard and understood. And there's like a magnetic feeling where they know, like, oh, that's
You're the
you.
one. I
Yeah.
had the wildest experience. So, I would board my Palm, this goes 20 years ago. I would board my Palm at this lady's place in, a town outside of Toronto, and before I would get on a plane, so I would take my dog there, and this lady had another Palm, and it was this tiny little black male named Sebastian, and as the minute I laid eyes on this little dog, it was so tiny, I'm talking so itty bitty, that wasn't a real dog, basically, right? It would, but he looked at me and it was like, "Oh my God, you're my dog." This is how I felt. And so I felt so screwed up in the head going, "This is my dog, but this lady has a dog. And why do I think it's my dog? I can't have two dogs." Like, well, that's insane. Right. So I'd leave and I'd tell Mark, because I was just with him. It was new at the time. I said, "I'm just like, I feel like this little tiny dog is my dog. I feel like a crazy person going over there." And then one day I told the lady, "Well, I know this is gonna sound wild, but are you ever possibly gonna give up this dog? Because I feel like this dog is my dog." Well, of course, you don't say that to somebody, that your dog is my dog, like, you think you're nuts or you're gonna come and steal their animal. And she's like, "Oh, and I'm never gonna get rid of him." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I should have never said that." And I was, like, freaked out completely. And then Mark's like, "Why did you say that?" I'm like, "Because I don't know how else to say it. It's I feel like this is my dog." Every time I'd go there, then he'd be looking at me and running back and forth on the couch like, "Where are you going? Are you gonna not take me?" And I was haunted. Anyway, so I said, "Oh, I'm just gonna forget about it." Mark had come and saw Sebastian, said, "That's not a dog, that's a squirrel. We're never having that dog." Okay, like, there is no way we're ever that thing is 2 pounds, whatever. I'm like, "I don't know why I'm saying this." I was so embarrassed. Anyway, 7 months later, I get a phone call from the lady. "I can't bond with Sebastian at all. Would you like him?" Sure
Wow.
enough, that little dog was my soulmate shadow from the day he walked in the door, and he was already friends with my other one, and the 2 of them were like, "Hi, it's me," and it was the most uncanny thing, like, I can freeze frame a photograph in my mind, in my memory of looking into that dog's eyes. I don't know, I just feel like the soul of these animals, they come to heal us and bring us something that people can't.
Mhm, mhm, so much
Such an
so.
honor, I think, and we're responsible for the quality of their lives, but also the quality of their deaths
Mhm.
too. I think it's really, we are responsible for the lives of these beings, and I love your work because it is about helping us, understand them so that we are not projecting our stuff onto them so that we can coexist, which is a great privilege to coexist with an animal, a domesticated animal,
Yes, so true, so true, yes, and
right?
even yeah, and even at the end stages of life, on the earthly
Mhm.
plane, even though it's so sad and there's loss and grief, I always feel like there's a gift in it too, being
Mhm.
able to hold space and to be there in those moments, those opportunities in the last months, days of just being able to be present and
Yep.
experiencing the love and the appreciation and the connection and to be serving them. And often, the animal will if there's health challenges or whatever, and then they're
Mhm.
gone. It can feel almost like your arm has been cut off, like and having
Oh,
phantom pains because you've
yeah.
been channeling all this energy to this being, and then they're gone. But there's such a beauty in the just that sacred space of holding for them and connecting with
Yeah.
them, and then feeling them on the other side when they, the visitations and the messages and the dreams and the
Uh-huh.
them no longer being limited by their physical bodies and coming through and all of those miraculous moments too. It's I always tell people to be aware of that because the journey continues and really it begins in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm feeling all of my animals all the time on the other side that are helping me
Yeah.
in so many ways. But yeah, it's so powerful and miraculous what our relationships with our animals provide us just in so many ways.
Yeah. Have you ever brought through in a session, an animal who crossed over?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Any favorite stories?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. There was one that was kind of, interesting, kind of funny, random. There was a man who had a little dog. It was like a Chihuahua mix that lived to like 18 or 19,
Mhm.
and he was really broken with the loss of his dog. And he came to me. I think he just found me on the internet or something, and he
Right.
was guided to me. And
Yeah.
I felt like his dog had
Yeah.
orchestrated this,
Yeah.
but I said, like, I said, I'm seeing like a marching band or something. Like I'm seeing him kind of like he's walking around, and I don't know, I always tell people too, like, this could be a lot of things, but I'm just,
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's like
Like
he's
a
like,
metaphor could be.
yeah, right, like he's like beating a drum and he's like in a marching band, and he started to cry because he said that the dog's favorite toy was this little, it was like a children's toy, it was like a little monkey that like would
The
beat.
symbol. Boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom,
it
boom.
was like that, but it was like a drum, like, it was like a drum, and it had these, and it would go like this with the, and he said, he's like, "Oh my god, I how could you have known that? And it wasn't a dog's toy, it was a children's toy." And he had been hearing the thing go off in his
Ah,
home recently, and he was like, just, oh my god." And sometimes it's those simple little things that
yeah,
come through, and sometimes they're really powerful and profound messages, always of love and healing and support and excitement, like, often like, "I'm here, I'm on the other side, I'm with you, like, let's do
yeah.
this," like.
Mine my favorites are when they tell me literally every single medical issue that they had. They love to tell me when they went to the vet, and this is what happened here, and then it happened here, and then there was hip dysplasia, and then I had a corneal ulcer, and then I had this, and they took me there, and this was happening then. Like, I will get the like, there's no way, like, the list would come, and then the person would be like, "How do you know that?" I'm just telling you what the animal's saying. Um, but how much love that they have for us. I think that's also something that has always stuck with me, because I still love my animals. I also know that because I've consciously adopted animals with health issues. I try to, and then afterwards I try to get one that's normal, and then they always come with health issues. I'm like, but it was an interesting thing to realize that you can be so selfless as well, and that they can teach you also how to keep your heart open without expectation.
Yes.
Right, that's the other thing. So that's what I've felt from, my experience as an animal guardian, which I always will be. And people always say, "Oh, how can you handle that pain?" And remember after Ollie, because I only had her for 3 months, I was so not wanting to adopt that dog, and I'm like, "Oh, no, no, and there's something about this dog," and Marcus, "But she's so cute," and I was saying, I just know something's gonna happen," and sure enough, she came down with that severe meningitis literally within weeks, and turned out she had a brain, disease that was incurable, and died 3 months later, and we just I she stuck by me like a Velcro to the side of my leg the whole time. If I'd go out, she'd wait by the door, and it was an incredibly bonding moment where anything that was going on in my outer world, which a lot, she took more precedence. So also reminded me, and I think animals remind us of what's really important too. Like, what is really important? Where do we place our attention, and why?
Mhm.
And it's just such an interesting thing if we sit and think about it. They're not just there for us to adopt them, for us to love them. They really
Yes.
teach
Yes.
us to be
Acceptance,
better humans.
flexibility. Yes.
They teach us to be better humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful and beautiful and humbling.
So would you say that, well, I'm curious, what makes you the most grateful as an animal communicator?
Oh, every time I connect in, after at the end of a session, I always feel elevated
Mhm.
vibrationally. Like, I really, just being able to tune in, plug in, witness, feel, and connect wit witnessing an animal and their human, their
Mhm.
relationship, and to be able to help, to be able to facilitate understanding and the communication, but just to simply witness their love and
Mhm.
relationship lifts me up. It really, like, I'm so grateful to be able to feel the connection that people have with their animals. And every single session I come out of it, certainly there are days where I'll wake up in the morning and I'll feel like, oh, I'm a little tired today. And okay, I've got some sessions. And as soon as I get into the session, everything shifts and I'm like elevated. And at the end of the session, I'm just jazzed. And even in the sad situations, or maybe there was
Mhm.
loss, or maybe it was connecting with an animal on the other side, I'm so
Mhm.
grateful to be a part of that, to be witnessing it, because it does feel like a gift to be able to feel the love, connection, and communication that people have between their animals, or if they feel like there's a lack of communication, to be
Sure.
able to provide that. But there really is always communication and understanding there. They just need a little assistance in clearing away the fog. So that really just being able to witness it and feel it is like
Uh,
my greatest honor, and
it's
it
a
keeps me
privilege, right?
going.
It feels like a real privilege.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
does, and I'll come out of a session like, "Oh, that was great." Again, even in, like, the sad ones, like, "Wow, that was really
moving.
wow." Yeah, fulfilling and
Mhm.
elevating. It just vibrationally elevating.
Better than advertising sales, huh?
Oh.
I can't even believe that you're the same guy. Like, I knew you had something when I met you all those years ago. I knew it. I knew it. But what you intended to be this, to do this, to I mean, you hadn't even met Cesar Millan at that point and had intended that you would work with him, know him, and whatever. And then I remember you writing me a year or 9 months or a year later, guess what? I'm on stage with Caesar. I'm there, I'm like, here's a list of all the things that I've done now. I was like, oh, I'm going to be watching you. And then to actually myself personally have an experience with you and how much joy and genuine people don't understand that this is such a nuanced conversation because you are really genuinely tuning in. There's no way you could have known. You were so able to clearly delineate the personalities of my dogs and their different needs because I totally knew it was correct. And actually really helped me um, step back a little bit and give more leadership because I'm a bad leader. I'll be honest. I'm like, oh, whatever you want. Like that's not what you should do, right? I'll admit it. I'm like, I need more sessions with you. But it's like this sense of people think, oh, they're just animals, but they're beings with personalities and expression and intelligence and creativity, and how we can help foster that is I think that your work is so, so important given that having a companion animal is so healing for us. So for us to be able to enhance that relationship, what a great gift you give to us. I mean, it's amazing.
Oh, well, I'm honored.
Well, let's pull a card together to see if there's anything else the Wooniverse wants us to talk about. Because I'm going to pull from Spirit Animal.
I love that deck.
Here we go. Let's find out if there's anything that we need to talk about still. Oh, chameleon spirit, act as if. So let's talk about acting as if as part of having better relations to our animals. Can you translate that a little bit?
Yeah, so that builds upon what I had mentioned before, having that clear intention, connecting in with the feeling. Let's say you're having some sort of challenge with maybe your cats. We've been talking a lot about dogs. I'll mention cats. Like maybe your cats are not getting along. There are two cats, you're trying to
Mhm.
blend them, and you are feeling like frustrated and angry and sad and guilty for what you're doing to your new cat by bringing in the old cat. So acting as if they get along, like connecting
Oh.
into the vision, the feeling, and the frequency, I often say to people.
Vision, feeling, frequency. That's interesting. I actually teach that as in terms of success strategies. That's interesting. So it's a success strategy.
Yeah, you're really like you're putting it out there, imagining, I'll often say to people, whether it's 2 minutes or 20 minutes, just imagining what it feels like for your cats, imagining them getting along. So not rather than not fighting, because that's like a negative focus, peaceful, getting along, laying together, using the same litter boxes, sitting on the same cat tree
Mhm,
together, peaceful. And what do each one, what they feel, how you all feel together, and really
mhm,
just create that frequency and that energy, feel it, visualize it, and project it into your environment.
mhm,
Act as if it is happening right now. And you're sort of being a chameleon. You're all becoming chameleons, blending into your environment together, changing your colors, assimilating to. But the human is creating the environment for everybody to chameleonize to, if that's a
right, to
word.
adapt. Yeah, chameleon eyes, well, they're adaptive, right? Creatures, they're adaptive creatures,
Yes.
so it is being resilient and adaptive. Yeah, because I do think that when you talk about intention, we don't realize how our energy impacts our animals, and they could be reactive to us, and we don't understand what's going on, but if we act as if, because we say, "Well, we want this animal to be calm," well, then we have to act as if everything is fine.
Right.
So that is bringing, and don't we want that too? Of course. So you rehearse the thing in advance, and then it until your own nervous system starts to take it as truth, and therefore it is.
Yes.
That's very, very cool. Anyway, we're gonna travel to another dimension of the Wooniverse called the Tea Time After Party, a place where we kick up the fun. And joining us now is our executive producer, Connie Deletti.
Hello.
Hi, Connie.
Hi.
Okay, so Connie, I'm gonna let you start and pick one of the questions.
You're in Los Angeles, so do you drive? Do you have a car?
I do.
Okay. What, as you know, you have so many things going on. What's in the trunk of your car right now? Got you.
um, I have, so there are always leashes,
Mm,
uh,
okay.
and because I'm always prepared in case I see like a stray dog. I don't see a lot of
Yeah.
stray dogs, but I'm always
Okay.
ready just in case. I have
Mhm. Of
some leashes in
course.
the
Yeah.
back. And but well, I'm laughing because I have a giant bag of soil dirt.
Oh.
This giant bag that's like open, but like pinned shut
Okay.
because I was cleaning out a tool shed and I didn't have anywhere to put the dirt, and I wanted to. It looked
Okay. Okay.
unseemly in the
That's
driveway,
like a
so
new
I'm like,
technique
I'm just gonna
for
put it in my trunk
yeah.
for now.
And
Oh,
there it
that's too
is.
funny.
Okay.
I'm a
Very
Taurus, so I connect with the earth,
the
like
earth.
Yes,
Yeah.
the earth, you're the earth sign with dirt in
in
your
my
trunk.
trunk.
Okay, if you had a talk show, who would you invite to be as your first 3 guests?
Oh gosh.
And they could be dead or alive.
Um, so I this is a guilty pleasure. Everybody who knows me really well knows that I am a huge Janet Jackson super fan. Like
Okay. Yeah, she's great.
huge.
Yes.
Guitar, doo
Yeah.
doo doo
Gonna
doo.
get
Yes.
Monica. Yeah. Yes.
I love that album.
Oh yeah. I'm huge, huge. Like you don't even know.
Okay, yes, we
Um,
do now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
huge. So
She's
Janet.
one.
Um, who else would be interesting? Gosh, uh, I know it's stereotypical, but Oprah would be interesting to turn it
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
around,
she
For
totally
sure.
to turn the cards or the
Mhm.
tables around because she's often the one interviewing and she does have an
is. That
interesting life.
is
And
interesting.
Mhm.
yeah, and the third one would be uh it would probably be talking about living or dead, probably my father, who
Oh, wow.
Oh,
he passed
Mhm.
away probably 10 years ago. But in hindsight, if I had the opportunity to bring him back and sit him down and interview him from this like
wow.
hindsight perspective,
Mm,
and just sort of going back and like, look at me now, Dad. Like, look at everything I'm
Mhm.
doing,
yeah.
and having a conversation and asking him maybe his perceptions of things growing up. And I think that would be kind of an interesting interview
And
from an
Mhm.
interviewing perspective.
I bet
Mhm.
you he'd be super proud of you, that's for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I
Your
feel
turn,
it.
Connie. Yeah, oh, yeah,
Okay, I have
yeah.
a question. This is now picking back up the fun because
Okay.
we
Back
went
to
to
the
a
fun,
very
exactly.
beautiful
You
space,
went to strong and beautiful
very
and
strong
lovely
and
space.
beautiful space.
Now we're gonna get a little kooky.
This is
Okay.
kooky. This is a kooky question, so get ready, okay? If you were a type of jeans, what type would you be?
Ooh. Uh,
I mean, this question is I came across, I thought, "Wow, okay."
um, I'm seeing, what's flashing to me are those
Yeah.
like, those, was like, was it Chic? The Chic jeans?
Yeah, the chic jeans,
Or like
yes.
Gloria Vanderbilt? Those, I'm
Yes,
thinking of those
yes,
70s,
yes, you're thinking
like,
like a Brooke Shields butt type of thing?
yes, like the dark, like painted on dark
Yes.
denim with like the
With the, like,
gold,
gold, yeah, stitching,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and with like the
yes.
disco music
Mhm.
playing and like
I
painted
love
on.
that. Like a boot cut, like a very fancy boot cut. Yes,
Painted
I love
on.
that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
Wow,
yeah.
what a
very dark.
jeans. I love that. Yes. So
Maybe a
chic.
little spandex in it or like a
Yeah,
little lycra in it,
Little
little
just
lycra, just
spandex. Oh, yeah.
a touch of
Mhm.
stretch.
touch of stretch.
Wow, I love
Gotta
Touch of
that.
dance.
stretch.
I love
Yes.
Okay, so would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button on your life?
Whoa, these are good questions, Connie.
Season
Um,
2, pump it, season 3, season 2.
pause,
Pause,
pause.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Mm,
Right? Yeah.
Because I have a really good memory. Like
Mm.
I remember everything, and
Mhm.
so I don't need to rewind back. And I'm not really big on do-overs, or
Mhm.
I
mhm,
believe everything's
Yeah.
meant to be and happens for a
Yeah.
mhm.
reason. And I certainly have thought, like, what if I didn't do this or that, or do I regret that? Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I never really, when I pause on
Mm.
that, I always
Mhm.
feel like, no, it's all meant to be and all
Mhm.
is well. But often things move, especially now. I've been feeling,
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but
Mhm.
I feel like there's this moment, like things are
Mhm.
really
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
fast
Mhm.
energetically.
Breakneck
Yeah.
breakneck speed.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm fine with the flow, but sometimes it's like, okay, I just want to like even looking at my pups here, just like
Yeah.
pausing and really, I just want to pause right now and just soak this in. Just
Yeah.
Luca sleeping there with his little lashes, just taking the little wispies between his little
Oh.
paw pads,
Oh.
for
Yeah.
those reasons,
Mhm.
pausing is good. Living in the moment.
Yes. Yeah, really soaking it in. It's beautiful.
Do you have a talent that others might find unusual?
Um,
Like something that you do that's weird?
Like, "Oh, there's Michael doing that thing again."
He's looking at
yeah.
the dogs like, "What do I do
I
that's
know, I'm
different?"
looking at them like, "What do I do that's
Yeah.
weird?" I
You know,
do
something that your mom would tell people, like, "Did you know he does this?"
well, dancing. I was always like a really
Oh.
good if I like when I was a kid, it wasn't appropriate in my family to be sending a boy into dance classes and everything, and
Mm.
I really I mean, like Janet Jackson, worshipped Michael Jackson, and I used to
Mm.
perform his Motown 25 Billie Jean routine
Oh,
that was his
Oh,
big
wow.
wow.
breakthrough. I used to perform it and I actually
Wow.
performed it in what I was like 10, 11, 12, and in our Catholic school Christmas show, our class performed the song Beat It with like the piano player, like the music
Wow.
teacher playing Beat It on the piano. And all of the students, like all of our class, were all in a circle, and we all had our turn to like two at a time go in the
Oh my
center to
gosh,
do a
yes.
little thing. And I had the Beat It jacket on in black, not rather than red, with
Wow.
the
Oh,
gloves,
Yes.
with a bow tie and white socks with loafers with dark denim jeans.
Yeah.
And I walked up and I did this whole like the leg kick and jumped on my
what?
toes and like everybody jumped up on their feet. Like the whole place was like, oh,
I
Wow.
love this.
and
Yeah.
everybody came running up to me after, like, we didn't know, all these parents were like, we didn't know you could dance. Oh my God. Like, and that was like my shining moment.
That's
But
so
Wow.
I
sweet.
always was like learning, I would rehearse routines for music videos,
Mhm.
all of
Mhm.
those 80s, like down to all of the routines. So
Wow.
that's kind of a
Well, now I know what his answer would be. We also had a question, which is if you could be in any other profession, what
Mm.
would it be? And I think you'd say dancer.
yeah, when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a pop star. Like, I really wanted to be
Mhm.
George Michael
Mm.
or, like, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, Madonna, like, all of those big pop
Mhm.
stars. I really wanted to I mean, now I'm like, "Ugh, I wouldn't want
That
that."
that li
No.
the lifestyle, it seems a bit different too with social media
Yeah.
Yeah,
now
it's a
versus
different
Ooh,
90s, yeah.
not so
Yeah.
good.
But my dad and my brothers were all attorneys, and
Oh,
my dad
gosh.
would bring me around and be like, "Michael, tell him what you wanna be." "I wanna be a rock star. I wanna be a rock star." I loved Kiss. I
Yeah,
loved
Oh,
Kiss.
yeah.
yeah. Mm.
You are such a character. This is
Oh,
so much
amazing.
fun. I love getting to know you because I've been your client. I was your teacher and then I was your client. So I never got to hear any of these good stories. This is so good. Thank you so much for
Mm.
coming. To learn more about Michael and all of his offerings, visit him at Michael R. Burke. That's Michael, which is spelt like any Michael, R. Burke, BURKE.com. And you can always find a transcript of each episode, quotes, and so much more on our show notes page. Just go to itwpodcast.com or click the link in this episode's description. As I have said, I've had several amazing appointments with Michael, and every time he is dead on and has helped me immensely. And I'm sure he can talk to a ferret, a cat, a gecko, a dog. It doesn't matter, a horse. But his work is genuinely moving and life changing. So thank you so much for coming, Michael. And I'm so excited to read your new Hay House book that's coming in the summer of 2024. We're just going to have you back on once your book is out.
I would be honored. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
So, what did we learn today? Well, I'd like to go back to that card that we picked, which was the chameleon card from Spirit Animal, which was all about adaptability and how we also have to adapt to our companion animals' needs. It's not just about them fulfilling our need, for like to fill up the love shaped hole. We bring home a companion animal, we want to love them, but truly we have to understand them too. And we have to adapt to them as they adapt to us. And also, to watch our energy, that if an animal is not feeling safe around us, it may be that we're projecting unsafe energy. So if we want them to feel safe and them to feel grounded or whatever, we have to act as if, which is the message of that card. So I thought that was really what he teaches to what Michael has, he's certainly done that for me and talks on his blogs. He's got some really interesting newsletters and blogs and meditations that he offers. So I thought that was so interesting. So thank you for listening. You are Inside the Wooniverse with me, Colette Baron-Reid. Until next time, be well.